Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
My name is Sam. I'm the head personal lines insurance.
Hi, Sam.
Hi,
How are you? Not too bad. How are you?
my name is Roman and I'm an HR hiring manager.
Perfect. Thank
Please
you.
take a seat.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Did you find the place okay?
You know, I did. A nice visible sign there I was able to follow, and yeah, very easy to find.
We know that the traffic conditions are pretty hectic downtown, but I mean,
But I was able to, yeah, no,
no outrage?
today no complaints.
No, it's all right. I'm glad to hear it. So, before we begin, I would like for you to tell us about yourself.
Okay, just a little background. Okay, so I'm living in Toronto right now,
Okay.
but I moved here from Manitoba. I have did my university degree in Manitoba.
Oh, very cool.
And yeah, what else? So I'm here now. I'm working right now at a property management company, but I'm doing online courses more insurance online courses at night. And I'm going to be, like I said, my resume, going to be doing the CIP, which is the registered exam. And also, yeah, so just kind of working right now, but looking for an experience where I can move on, and that's why I applied for this job, because I noticed that you guys, you jumped off the page at me because you guys looked like you were a company that had everything together, and so I was very interested when you called me back. I was very grateful that you gave me the opportunity.
Well, we're glad that you came for this interview. So, moving on. Why should Economical Insurance hire you?
Okay, so I'd like to compare this position to the position that I'm currently in right now. So some of the strengths in my role as an assistant administrator deals with customer service and customer satisfaction, and dealing with customers on a one-on-one basis, and dealing with them in a professional manner and upholding professional relationships. I have a lot of communication skills that I've brought in from this position, dealing with conflict resolution, dealing with individuals who, for example, if I'm going to be dealing with assessing individuals for claims, I'd like to say that I have a good judge of character, which also came with me dealing with people on a regular basis. Organizational skills, once again, I'm able to go to school, have a household, manage a family, plus do work and online schooling at the end of the day as well. So I'm able to budget my time very well, which I know is in a fast-paced environment similar to insurance. You want to be able to prioritize and manage your time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So Jen, you mentioned strong communication and organization skills, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us that how all these skills would apply in our organization?
Okay, so I imagine that it's an entry-level position. However, I'll be dealing with brokers, I'll be dealing with managers, owners, I'll be dealing with co-workers, you know, so not only will I be a subordinate, I'll be a colleague with individuals that I'm going to have to work with on a regular basis. And when it comes to timelines and deadlines, and working in tiny little cubicles with different people, I believe that I'd want to be able to make sure there's a nice straight line of communication. One, on my part, what I have to do, clear instructions, and understanding my managers and what I have to do, but also a clear understanding that, you know, what I want and need from them, so we can reciprocate in a proper manner as well. Communication. Organization, I believe, was the other term that I gave you that you asked about, to clarify? Organization?
It's just a strong communication.
Oh, just strong communication?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yes, that is, that would be that in a nutshell. Communication can also be in regards to talking with customers. You know, we're going to want to have some type of professional rapport. We're going to want to deal with them in a professional manner, and you know, not pick up the phone and like, hey, this is
Definitely
get out of
a skill.
yeah.
Organization. So, we wanted to know why you're interested in this particular position at our company.
In this specific position, now by Googling your website, I noticed that you guys have a lot of different facets to your work, like 24-hour claim service, and you guys have just a really good a community of workers, and a lot of good blogs stating that people have really enjoyed working with you and that they respect your company. In regards to that specific position, it just looks like you'd be someone who would foster a long-term relationship with me. So even though I'm entry level now, I'm looking for long-term, and I see a lot of different positions that are available. And then even a friend of mine who has worked for you guys before, who's been there for about 10 years, and says that she is. I had her as reference in my resume. That's probably why you asked me in here. But she's loved it, and they've worked with her to progress through the steps from one position to the other, so you just got really good news. Bad news has no breaks, and I've only heard really good news about your company.
We're all about the developing. I mean, that's crucial for us, and we pretty much expect people coming in that they don't know everything, but it's just that willingness to learn, I think, is an important characteristic.
Perfect.
Yeah, true. And do you think you are a good fit with the organization?
Yes, in regards to working with people, like the timelines, I'm aware there's no, I'll ask you questions after the interview, but there's no hidden agenda, like it's not, I know exactly, your job description was very clear as to what you needed from me, and so that's why I was able to put myself in line with that, with your values, your mission, your vision, and like I said, the amount of people that are happy with your company. I would have to, I feel that I would be able to help you guys achieve your goals. I'm very dedicated, I'm a hard worker, and it seems to fit in line with what your organization screams.
And I think communication has to do with it as well, right?
Yes.
Communication with coworkers
Yes.
has a very big impact on how well you fit in with the organization. So
Absolutely.
it's great that you have communication skills, so that could help with your fit. Moving on, teamworking and team brainstorming are important aspects of the assistant underwriting role. Describe how you would handle a situation if you met resistance when introducing a new idea to a team or group.
Okay, well, that can happen anywhere. I would take an experience from doing projects in school, maybe, and where I'm working now. Actually, if I could even focus on a situation that happened to me at work in my current job, where we had a new software system being implemented into the office, and a lot of the older veterans really preferred to have the old way of having it done, and I was a part of the team who was really on board for implementing the new software. Now, the transition between getting here and to having it all in now was a long haul, but the idea was that we had to implement different strategies to work with the veterans who really wanted it one way, by step by step showing them how to get to the end, because just by looking at it, they said, oh, this software's not going to work. No, I'm used to just writing it out. I don't want to do this. But now, so fast forward, we have now successfully implemented the system, so everybody's able to print off their cash receipts by hitting one button. You could print off, tax receipts for the end of the year, one button. You can make an arrears report, one or two steps, and it eliminates so many steps. But it was that process of getting from this point where they didn't understand, and that's where the resistance came into play. So the most important thing was educating and not making the older individuals feel dumb or unappreciated. What you did was good, but now we are able to do it this way. And if you just take a couple extra steps, it's even as close as far as sitting down with them sometimes and doing it a couple times. And then once there's a 7-year-old woman who works there right now who resisted the system and now is so proficient in the system. And yeah, she's honestly 70 years old, but she's comfortable with it. But it took a lot to get her there. But it was recognizing her needs and just finding out how she was able to learn. And because you can't just throw a manual in front of her, that wasn't going to work. We had to actually figure out, how is this going to work? How are we going to be able to teach you the best way possible? And it turns out just role play or simulation, or so we would do it and then she would do it and then write it down. and took a little bit extra time. But at the end of the day, now she's saving so many hours that she can knit a whole sweater. So really, I'm not joking about the sweater, like she knits ridiculously awesome sweaters. But at the same time, it took being able to recognize those people, and that's how I think you will deal with resistance. Because if somebody is pushing against a project, odds are it's because they either don't know enough about it, or are afraid to delve into it, or don't feel they have the time to dedicate to it. So you have to make those points seem attainable. In
For
my
sure, yeah. And having empathy, I think, goes a long way, right?
Yes, absolutely. Empathy, as in, understanding. Yeah, I understand how you feel. Like I can't sympathize with you. No, I understand how you feel. Having empathy for them. Yeah, exactly.
As you mentioned, like you told us about the situations, like how you handled, and can you tell us like the outcome? What was the outcome of that?
Of the outcome of implementing the new software.
Yeah.
Okay, so the outcome of that was time management, like saving time. That was our biggest thing, is from taking it from having all of our parking documents like handwritten and having to put that and uploading all this information or having to scan it into the system, now just being able to enter it into the system and print it out and have it accessible. So accessibility was number one, and saving of time, I'm not too sure if I've answered your question correctly, but I'd like to say that by recognizing that there was a need, and we all worked together in order to make that happen, we're to make our business run a bit more efficiently, which took us a little bit of money at first, but then is now saving us money and saving us time.
So it's a challenge in introducing new things to something that's always ingrained in our employees.
Especially if it's been there for 20 years.
For sure. Moving on, while performing your role, you may have come across issues with policies that require problem-solving skills. Can you give me a specific example of a time when you used your good judgment and logic in solving a problem?
Okay, I definitely have one for this. Prior to being an administrative assistant, I was a building manager for 2 years, which involved being on site in a building, dealing with residents, dealing with emergencies, boilers, hot water pumps, and tanks, like pretty much running the building. So a little bit of customer side, but mainly mechanical building side. And so one day we were just kind of in the building, and we noticed that someone came up and said, "Oh, the lobby's becoming a lake," and a 4-inch stainless steel pipe had burst in the ceiling, right in the lobby, right in the front where everybody sees, and it was gushing out water, probably like a fire hose is the best way that I can explain it. And so I had to stop and use judgment and logic and think, okay, what is the first thing I need to do? And because I was relatively new, my property manager was in Toronto, and this wasn't something that I could just call my property manager and be like, hey, what do I do step by step? No, I felt the need to act immediately. This was an emergency, in my opinion. So after I deemed it emergency, I kind of thought, okay, well, what do I need to do? Well, I need to stop the water. So I had to run and do an emergency water shutdown at the water pumps. And then once we got that stopped, then call the proper contractors to come in, like the plumbers, and call in the drywallers and everything step by step. But my first priority before anything else was shutting off that water. So I guess in that opinion, I'm able to say, okay, at this time, this is what's needed first. I know that the contractor work, contacting all the residents after saying, you know what, we shut off the water, you want to maybe avoid using any of the drains or flushing or putting water down at any point in time. That could all happen after, but it was the ability to recognize the emergent situation now, because any longer, and that it honestly would have filled up the whole building, which would cost the building managers more money, the company more money, more angry residents, emergency cleanup crew would be more money. So I guess in that sense, I use my good judgment to not stop and waste any time, but to immediately fix the problem and then have everything else. And then once that was settled, that fire was put out, then you could go out and sit down and then realize what you have to do next.
You're definitely looking at someone who can prioritize under pressure at our firm, and I think that example kind of demonstrates that ability to do so.
Thank you.
So what happened after?
Oh, okay, yeah, well, yes, the water was stopped, and then so we called in everybody, and they closed up the drain pipe and everything, but the water damage, like the water just coming out at the pace that it was,
Yeah.
created so much, like we had to come in, we had to get people to like check for mold after, and we had to get people to come in, and we had to redo all the drywall. It ended up doing like, we had to rip out all the ceiling. It ended up costing a lot of money, but had I not been there to stop it at that time, that price, it would have been more, double, triple, easily. Like the pipe that the gentleman had to put in was the same cost as my car.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, so, for real,
I
yeah.
hope you got recognition for.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah,
they make
fire.
cake certificates every now and again,
Oh,
but yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Can you give me an example where you failed to meet a goal?
For white reasoning?
Yeah.
And private-
Tell us like,
Yeah.
how
About
or
it?
why.
Okay, absolutely. So let's move forward into my administrative position, where we had a goal to build a swimming pool in the one of the buildings in Toronto, and everyone was very excited. So we said, okay, yeah, spring 2014, there's gonna be a pool. Everyone's excited, and but you know, creating the infrastructure for a pool or like building in Toronto is a lot of work. You need contractors, you need permits, you need this from the city, you need that. And we didn't end up giving ourselves enough time to be able to get the project done in the budgeted amount for the contractors and the budgeted amount for pretty much all the work in general. So what ended up happening was the repercussions of that had a chain reaction with the clients in the building, because the clients were now expecting something too. So not only have we not met our own goal, but now we've frustrated the clients because everybody, you know, well, they wanted a pool, of course they did, you know. When the amenities go up in a building, you can bring your family over, and, you know, they were excited. So you wanted to know, yeah, so that's essentially what happened. We didn't hit the goal.
And how would you prevent it to be happen in the future? How would you
That specific, well, we actually, what we took from that was learning how to plan and prioritize a bit better. So it's all in the plan. So we were acting a bit hasty in that we wanted to just get it done, and relatively new property manager, new administrator on board, and thinking, yeah, we can get it done in this. Like, yeah, boom, just like going to Walmart, buying some eggs and peanut butter. You know, but no, wasn't that easy. We had to, so that made us plan more extensively for the next project. So when we were budgeting, we were like, okay, you know what? You want to give yourself some leeway. You want to give yourself a couple weeks on either end, especially when working with contractors, because the idea is not all contractors even show up at times, you know. So if anything, it made us learn how to plan and create a strategy that's more realistic. You know, and it's unfortunate that we had to hit that wall first, but it was a good lesson learned, because you know, after you've done it once and you see it doesn't work, you know, you'll try it again and you'll look at it from a different angle and always plan more. Like it's like having a map to go someplace. You know, you need to have that strategy and plan in place. And so yeah, so now we look at it completely different. You give yourself buffer zones. You have a little bit of contingency money, you know, in regards to budgeting and planning. Yeah, so if anything, to prevent anything like that again, it's more preparation and more of a realistic look.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said before, at our company, we really emphasize the development part. So
Yes.
we recognize that people do make mistakes, but it's what you get out of those mistakes is what's really important.
That's right, that's right.
And we have this philosophy where it's that you never fail. You either succeed or you learn. So I think you've demonstrated how you can fail to meet a goal, but then learn from it and realize that you can take steps to prevent that from happening in the future.
That's right. Sometimes if people don't have those obstacles or examples to learn from, sometimes they just kind of carry on and you're not humble or you don't want to learn anymore. And as soon as you don't want to learn anymore, I feel you've taken about 10 steps back.
Right,
You know?
that's very true.
Yeah.
We've touched on this before, but we'd like you to elaborate on how you would handle situations where there's a lot of pressure and stress on you.
So maybe versus external leak in the ceiling, but maybe like deadlines and feelings and commitments to people, that kind of pressure. You know, I have a rule, which I usually say when dealing with projects and people, and for example, if I was to be working in this setting, if anything gets too heated, at the point where it's just going to be not even beneficial to move forwards, I believe that I say that I unplug from the situation, even for 5 minutes. So let's just say that, yeah, you know, we do have a deadline, 5 minutes isn't gonna hurt anyone. If everybody's getting heated and, you know, you can't even focus or think anymore, you know, take 5 minutes out, have a coffee, walk around the building, you know, just kind of settle for a moment and then look at it again, you know, with some fresh eyes and a fresh perspective. I do really truly believe that helps me. It may not help everybody, but when I'm faced with pressure and stress and deadlines and you know, and maybe even there's stress because of a deadline with another coworker, I feel that if I'm able to even just step back before things get heated, I might not say something that I'll be regretting, you know, because we're all human, you know, we all work. We all feel emotions, and especially in office settings, emotions can run wild. But at the same time, yeah, moving back, taking a step back, getting a breath of fresh air, and then attacking the project again. And if you haven't done all the work, and like say it's a day before and everything's due, well then I just think that's ridiculous, because I'm a firm believer of like heavily preparing. You know, even though you still may heavily prepare and not make your deadline, you know, but if you've done the work and you put it into it, if somebody hasn't done all their work up until the last moment in this kind of situation, that's where the communication will come in again. So, you know, well, we recognize this, and, you know, for next time that we do this, maybe we're going to have you in a quarterly fashion let us know, okay, you're done this in sections, right? So we don't have to feel the stress when it comes down to having things done in a deadline.
Yeah, like we said before, I think communication is a big aspect of it, especially with coworkers. You know, things, like you said, can get heated, emotions can get riled up, and it's always a good idea to kind of take a break, because honestly, if you're in that state and you're trying to do work, you can waste an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours,
Absolutely.
when 5 minutes could just done the trick. So it's about recognizing when you need to take that break,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's great that you recognize that. Moving on, how would you do if the priorities on a project you were working on changed suddenly? This could be with like budget cuts or different priorities from different situations that come up.
Right. I think when it comes to doing the work, you know, you guys can run tests on me to see, like, you know what, I understood all of the like the numerical part of it, and that's fine. But this side of it is completely different because it deals with emotions and it deals with ego and something that I've put work into, and now we can't use it, or this has changed, you know. And that's harder to gauge in people. But when it comes to things changing, I'm a pretty easygoing individual. You know, if I don't get my way at the end of the day, no one's going to be hurt. Like, you know, I grew up with people who, you know, if you don't get that, it's too bad, you know. So that's just the way it goes. So I've kind of had that mentality. So if ideas were to change, my biggest priority would be to salvage what you can from people, because, you know, if somebody's put a lot of work into it, and then it's maybe just tossed off to the side because, oh, we can't do this anymore, you don't want to give them that feeling that all that work that they put into it is no longer needed, you know, even though that is kind of the truth. Like, you know, if things have changed, we can't do this, we're on a new route, it doesn't matter. But then the morale will be tied into the new project a lot better if they say, okay, you know what, I like what you've done here, so, but now we have to change our idea, change where we're going, but what you've put in is still very worthy, you know. So it's just removing, I think you'd have to just, I'm aware that things can change on a dime. For my example with the budgeting for the pool that went in, things can change, and you have to be able to not let it affect you personally. So, you know, yes, you may have done a lot of work on this project, but now we just can't do this. And for me personally, if it was to change on a dime, I'd be fine with it as long as it's fair and as long as you be able to get good justification for the reasoning that everything is changed. And then they can prove to you that, okay, so it's changed, but now we're going to be doing this from here on out. This is in stone. Then I just think things move a lot more efficiently when it comes to projects.
Yeah, definitely feel you on that one. In your resume, you discuss writing your CIP exam. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so like I said, I'm currently working, but I am doing my online courses, my insurance courses over the span of a couple of years. And very soon I'll be writing the CIP, which would throw me into a professional designation. However, that doesn't mean that I have to go right into a higher grade of a pay. What that means is I now have to find a company that's willing to work with me and mold me and be happy enough to work with me as I am with them, and then go up the ranks. And it just means that you guys have a little bit more. It really goes to show that I could have just taken it and worked, but I wanted that professional designation. You know, I believe in following, in being ethical when it comes to insurance. You know, avoiding insurance fraud, avoiding any situations that's gonna expose our company in a negative way. So I thought that by getting that professional designation, it would really be a seal of approval, so that you guys know that my work is gonna be audited every year. You know, and I'm gonna have to prove myself, there's another word I'm looking for, it's not coming to me right now, to my, the body of, designated body, to show that I'm doing proper work, you know, so then that way you guys will feel comfortable knowing that I have a code that I work by.
We take that very seriously here, actually, to make sure that you are doing ethical and professional work, also being held accountable.
Accountable, thank you, yes, that's, that's the word I was looking for. No, that's good, because I feel that when a person